Nothing.
That I've never been told. Much too much of it. What we call a YOB in England. Wouldn't it be here? Street writing here.
A what?
A YOB.
Oh.
Boy backwards, so it's kind of like a naughty boy.
Oh. I've never heard that. Huh, YOB.
Kind of mischievous boy.
I like
Little
that.
troublemaker. You know what I was thinking that I haven't mentioned, which I should, to be truthful, which is, and I'm sure it's part of the whole picture with cross-dressing and transgender, which is just, I feel really uncomfortable being a man. Because I grew up through the 50s and the 60s with all these expectations of what was male, and I did not feel any of them were about me. And to this day, I could happily live in a world that was all female. Which doesn't mean I don't have male friends, but masculinity I find incredibly unpleasant. The male archetype, male bonding, what are considered to be male qualities, I feel not just uncomfortable, I despise most of them. Hanging out with the guys and strutting and bullying and competing and all those qualities that are about conflict and about an inherent idea of violence, that you will be violently dealt with if you don't fit in and agree. I see those as male traits, whether I'm right or wrong. And I choose to separate myself from that. I had the good fortune to go to an all-boys school and learn very quickly who my enemies were. And so I do tend to associate my enemies with men for that reason. And I think of that as a blessing with hindsight, because it set me free from any illusion of wanting to be part of this boys' club, both on an economic level and on a behavioral level. My experience of a lot of transgender people is that they're incredibly courageous in terms of refusing the expectation of society. And they're prepared to go visible in their denouncement and rejection of what society says they should be like as people. And really that's the same process of a radical who goes to Seattle to attack the World Bank. One makes a choice in life every so often that says, I really cannot accept or appear to accept this hypocrisy any longer. I cannot live with myself if I appear to support hypocrisy. And that's why gender and body shape and all these other things are significant. They represent our waking up to change and our waking up to our deeper self. And as in all times of great change and a radical shift in a species, there's conflict between the old species and the new form of the species. Just as at one time those 3.5 million year old semi-humans didn't make it because perhaps they only ate one kind of food and that disappeared and they died. The other ones, who were probably the freaks, that could eat everything and ran around hitting things with stones ended up being the ones who survived to this day. So I tend to assume that the minorities that challenge all preconceptions are the precursors of an evolutionary shift, a species change. And that's why I'm fascinated with all the possible indicators on the street, in fashion and in presentation and in the gradual demolition of gender, because I see them as incredibly important signifiers of a spiritual and evolutionary alteration. It seems to me obvious that whatever God is, or whatever the divine is, it cannot be male or female, it has to be an it. And the it is most perfectly represented by the hermaphrodite. The very early paintings of the Garden of Eden, which are now suppressed in most churches, Adam and Eve are male and female. They're two hermaphrodites. And the representations of the divine being are also of a hermaphrodite. And I think I told you I have somewhere a papal encyclical that says that the Pope actually said God must be male and female, this particular Pope. So there is an age-old tradition that perfection is the end of gender, the end of a binary system of good and bad, the end of cause and effect, and the moment of tranquility and compassion. And I really, when I see anybody who's androgynous, or I see a hermaphrodite or a transsexual, I see the future of the species. And it doesn't matter how clumsy the symbols are, it doesn't matter how rooted in apparent neurosis some of the motives might be. See what happens? Society's trying to shut me up. It won't work.
What color for your top?
Pardon?
What color for your top?
You're in charge. I am at your mercy.
Okay.
Surprising.